What's up, everybody?
Yeah. Good evening. We're making a habit of this. I don't know what you call this, doing it remotely. Or I guess I'm doing it remotely.
Yeah, I'm in studio. Yeah, you're remote over there. That's
Yeah,
2 weeks in a row now.
yeah. I might not be wearing pants right now. Nobody knows.
I almost thought about that. I was like, I could just come out here in my underwear, and yeah, no one would ever know. No one would be
Yeah,
the wiser.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, we under some certain circumstances we are remote tonight, and but the power of technology, we're doing all right.
yeah. I listened to last week's. I thought the audio, everything, the quality was right there.
I don't know how that makes me feel really because I'm just using the audio of my laptop and you are too, I think.
Right.
And then next to me I have like a $350 microphone and then another one right there. And the audio is not that much better than with those
Yeah.
insanely expensive mics. It kind of bothers me a little bit.
Right. Well, I think there is a difference, but you know, it is what it is. But well, how's harvest going?
Man, it's going pretty good. I've got uh I have about 200 acres to go.
Okay.
I moved. I had to go pick my kids up from school today and all that. So I was today I was a little messed up. I didn't get to run near as much, but I'm on my last farm in Millington, and it's about 54 acres. And then I'm moving over to Bolton, and that's pretty much where I'm gonna finish. I've got like 3 fields or something over there,
Yeah.
and then at that point, I'm LH Farms is pretty much in the books.
So when do you think you'll get done? I mean, just barring breakdowns and unexpected weather, which I don't think there's still no rain in the forecast.
No, I would say I'm gonna say I should be done with mine probably around the 25th. I think that's
Okay, well,
stuff.
I know you said 11 days last week, and I was like, I'd put him in only 4 more days.
Yeah,
But you're thinking another week, basically.
yeah. Well, I'm moving. I'm gonna cut. I've got a 45, 45, and a 35 acre field. I'm gonna cut them three, and then Dad's got a field right next to me that's 120 acres, and I mean I'm out there, so we're just gonna cut it so we don't have to go to Bolton. So
Right.
that's gonna add that'll add 2 days, uh,
Yeah.
and then I got to go from there to Mead Lake, and I got 35 acres. So
Okay. So if not for those 2 days helping them,
I'd be done in 4 days for sure. Yeah, I
yeah.
would probably, if it wasn't for that, I would venture to say in about 3 days, yeah, I could probably knock it out. Um, but my header, like I'm having trouble, and it's a good problem, I guess. My header's not feeding real good, but the beans are huge. Like they're really good. They're cutting consistently in the 50s, and I'm having some cutting in like the average is averaging high 50s into the 60s. And that's really good, man. I hear people that are like, yeah, beans cut 70, 80 bushel. I'm going to be honest, I don't believe most of them. Like, I've seen really good beans, and I see my monitor jump to 70 bushels sometimes. Like, it'll get up into the 70s.
Right. Yeah.
Like we've said before, like just because I see that number like a few times on the monitor does not mean that's what the field actually averages.
Yeah.
So if a field averages high 50s if a field averages in the 60s, I'm like super pumped.
Yeah.
So I've had quite a few do that this year.
Well, there's no rain until for basically another full week, so you might be able to get done before it rains. What about the grain elevators? They've been able to accept deliveries
CGB shut down today. They were shut down today, and they said they may be open tomorrow.
just
Um,
because it's taking them longer to get barges loaded.
I
They're
guess
just
so. They're loaded. They're full. They're trying to get as much out. Hales Point has been rocking and rolling, man. I hauled a load yesterday myself. I took Old Purple and I hauled it to Hales Point. Man, we got there, uh, and we were in and out of there in 10 minutes. Like,
okay. Were any of them closed down this past weekend?
I don't. Well, ADM. I'm not honestly sure about ADM. They've been closing down quite a bit.
Okay.
But I don't remember. I think CGB. Now CGB was open for like 3 hours on Sunday. There was
Mm.
literally like a 3 hour window. But I tell you, I did enjoy. I enjoyed hauling. I hauled to Hales Point, and Derek was in the white truck, and that's a good thing, man. That like I love my purple truck, and I love driving a manual. Like I enjoy hauling in a semi manual. But
Well, that's whenever you know, that new truck, I'm like, you know, it might be nice at times, convenient, might be, I don't, it, in a way, it's almost like a non-alcoholic beer or,
yeah, that's
it's
kind of
just,
how I
it's
feel.
like,
The
I have that problem with, because, I got my old Jeep. I love that thing. When I see like these new Jeeps, and heck, my dad drives one that have an automatic, I'm like, yeah, it's got the Jeep name on it. It's got the Jeep logo, but I'll never fully recognize that as being a Jeep.
yeah.
Like that. I don't know. It's just something about it. So
Well, and see, I ideally actually I wanted the truck that I got, the T880. I wanted a T800, which is a little bit older one, but I wanted it in a manual. Like I wanted it in like a 13 speed, but he had it in automatic. And all the guys are going to automatics. And the big advantage is if you have a guy that can pull a trailer, he can drive it. Like he don't have to know how to shift the gears.
right,
So, like, I've got a guy that I'm confident he would pick up quickly on driving a regular semi, but he's done hauled like 3 loads or something now for me to Hales Point. And I did the thing, man. Old Purple, though, I got that truck turned up, and this is the first load I've hauled with it, and I let him go in front. I said, "You go, you lead the way." And I could tell, like, I was having to back off on it on some spots because I could just the purple truck wanted to just keep on hammering, and like I'd slow down. And I told him when we got back, he was like, "Yeah, I figured you'd go in front or something." I said, "Dude, I would have run away with the purple truck." And the white truck's not a slouch, man. It's a 450 horsepower truck,
yeah.
but we're talking an extra 100 horsepower on the purple one. And after this winter, if things do like I'd like to, it might be about an extra 300 horsepower with kind of what I got up my sleeve. But so I don't know, but I'll probably keep the white one because everybody that works for me that drives it, they love it. But I feel a little bit of I kind of feel like a sissy when I drive it a little bit.
There you go. Well, good deal. Yeah. Well, of course, we want to mention our friends over at Agzaga. I was just looking at the website. They got all kinds of deals and specials they're running. Of course, special. It's always special when you use the Talk Dirt discount code.
Yep,
But
all caps, talk dirt, one word.
yep, yeah, all kinds of stuff. I mean, everybody hears us talk about them every week. You just got to go over check it out. American owned company. Pretty local here to us, just across the river over in Missouri. But yeah, need to go check them out.
Yep, agzaga.com. Use our code. Well, I got some interesting stuff I wanted to dive into before we got a lot of listener questions. Again, we love the listener questions. Like that is and it's awesome. We feel like we can share some information. And hey, look, y'all actually make our job easier when you send in listener questions because then it's like, well, what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, we got about 50 listener questions. So,
Well, and we've had some really good ones. I mean, and where I'm like, man, I love it whenever I'm like, man, I can't give you a straight answer because
yeah.
in the long form discussion is perfect for those because
Yeah, like the guy that asked you about how to make a micro penis bull. That was one you were like, man, that's a hard one to answer.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We must have skipped over that one.
Uh, I before we get to the solar panels though, well, that's what I want to get on first. Hey, did you see what happened? Did you see what Sarah Huckabee's doing?
Yeah, yeah. You sent me that video. That's why I responded. I thought it was awfully ironic that it was a TikTok video talking about them kicking China out of Arkansas.
Well, I do hate to admit, I am now on the China app.
Well, that's what, and see, I kind of, because you sent me a link to a TikTok video, which occasionally people will do that. And even though I don't have TikTok, I can like
Yeah,
view it. It's a
yeah.
little bit clunky. Of course, they want you to just download the app. But I was like, I think this looks like he has his own account, but
Uh,
I'm holding off. And it really doesn't have so much to do with China as it does just social media is already too much of a time vacuum for me. I don't need another one pulling at me in any
well,
way, shape, or form.
that's kind of how I was. I was apprehensive, but I'm like, well, it is a good marketing thing, so that's kind of why I was like, yeah. And we have a Talk Dirt to Me page on there actually too. There is a Talk Dirt to Me TikTok. So there you go, guys. But I am on there. But yeah, that's pretty big. And I'll be honest, I'm very glad that they're standing up to it. At the same hand, and I know one of the guys listens to our show that works for Syngenta, and he's a great guy. So like
Well, see, that was one of my biggest takeaways. Is like, whoa, I didn't realize Syngenta. I mean, I'm not shocked anytime you hear a company is, you know, has Chinese money behind it, or is
yeah,
flat out Chinese owned. But
yeah, I
uh,
feel bad for the employees because I mean, I, this is gonna have to have a negative impact, I would think.
I mean, I would think that somebody else is just going to buy it. Like the Chinese company that owns Syngenta now sell off Syngenta. Yeah, I
You
would
think
think
so?
because from what I understand, that that company just recently bought it, like within the last few years, and
Yeah,
so of course got all their holdings and whatnot, and the physical property and everything else. But I kind of have mixed feelings on it because I'm like, how much of this is just politics, and because part of me wants to like sure wants to say hell yeah, get those Chinese bastards out, and then
yeah,
I'm like, I mean, China is, as we might not want to admit it. I mean, they own a lot of things in this country. A lot of, Smithfield Foods. Heck, which I do make a point. I don't ever buy Smithfield bacon now, which I wouldn't. That wasn't really necessarily my go-to brand to begin with, but like I do think about that when I reach for it, and I'm like,
you
it
realize
just
they
kind of
own
says,
them.
man, Smithfield, and I don't know any of the history of that company, but like that's a very you know, American sounding company. And it's like, no,
Yeah,
they're Chinese owned. I know when my wife was more, and I won't call out certain companies, but worked with some ag retail companies, um, really on the agronomy side. And the companies that she worked for, or kind of more worked with, they were American family owned and a big company.
yeah,
And they were like, yeah, they're one of the only ones that's American owned. I was like, whoa. And like I started naming off like the ones around here that we do a lot of business with. Or, I mean, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, they're not even American owned. It's like, dang,
yeah,
that's a very American name, and maybe they were American originally, but then they got bought out, and
yeah.
yeah,
I'm honestly surprised that Cargill is still standing strong. Just the way
yeah,
things go.
yeah,
Most of your big businesses, I feel like they eventually get so big, somebody else comes in and, I mean, Cargill. The one thing that might help them is they are so huge. I mean, it would take a ungodly amount of money to purchase Cargill, I would think.
yeah. Well, and like on the meat packer side of things, of course, we rail against the meat packers and whatnot.
You know, when they sold the JMB,
Well, Well, the big four
JMB,
beef packers are two are American. Tyson and Cargill are two of the four, but then you have JBS, who is
JB,
they're they're Brazilian owned,
yeah,
and then National Beef is the majority of it is owned. Actually, I think it all goes back to Brazil as well. I know it's majority foreign ownership. Yeah, you're like, dadgum, that's I don't know. It's like, man, that's weird, in a way. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I am intrigued to see what I would ideally what I wish would happen is more things like this would happen with states being like, nah, China's not going to have anything to do with it. And if they could track it all the way back and make it essentially unprofitable for China to buy companies here, like that's what I wish they
Yeah.
would.
Well, and when I think like, okay, if I'm selling a company, I mean, I'm gonna sell to the highest bidder. I mean,
Yeah,
or if I'm a CEO and I've got a board, or shareholders, whatever, that's my job. If I've got a group of Chinese investors that want to pay me significantly more than Americans, then I don't know. It's kind of one of those deals where if it's close, I might, you know, give the hometown discount or whatever and let the local guys buy it for a little cheaper. But yeah, there's two sides to it. And part of me too is like how much of this is just, kind of like we talked with Monsanto is the boogeyman.
yeah,
Or Roundup's the boogeyman. Well, China's kind of the boogeyman. And look, I'm not I mean, I like Chinese food. Aside from that, I'm no Chinese apologist, but
you do have a rising sun flag in your living room, don't you?
yeah, that's why I can't record in there. Then I'd be outed. But no, China, I think less than 1% of the foreign owned farmland in this country is owned by the Chinese.
Yeah,
I think it's something like 3%, a little over 3 is foreign owned, just total agricultural land, and less than 1% of that 3% is by the Chinese. Like they're like, if you break it down by country, they're like that 17th or 18th, on the list. And so
yeah,
that it's like, but when they own a company and like Syngenta that's got a lot of research and that sort of thing. Like, okay, it may come down to more. Well, what? It may not be about the quantity of land they own, but what do they actually own? And
yeah,
yeah, as I kind of went down that rabbit hole a little bit today, I was surprised. I guess I wasn't too surprised, but like we have caught the Chinese, several times. I mean, blatantly trying to steal. Like there was a situation, I think it was 10 or 12 years ago, guys had like suitcases full of seed that they were stealing to take back, for research purposes
yeah.
and whatnot, like just stealing that technology. Like, yeah. So I don't know. I definitely part of me wants to cheer it on and say, hell yeah, we need more of that. And then part of me is like, yeah, how much of this is just, the conservatives who I typically align with just trying to score some political points,
Yeah.
but
I don't know. Like I said, I'm curious to see how it goes. And yeah, I mean, hopefully the company overall will get purchased or something back. Because
yeah, you'd love to see that. Like a group of American investors come in and say, hey, we're going to buy back this company.
yeah,
Um,
but I will say that's a great segue point to what I wanted to hit on before we get into the questions. So I was telling Bobby Lee before we got on air that if I've ever had a viral Instagram post, I guess I just did. And it's. I also think I told him my give a damn, or I was telling Marcy this for sure, but I said my give a damn is also worn out. Because I posted a reel like I don't know 3 days ago or something, and I'm in a field. There's 120 acres, almost on the dot. The beans they averaged. I finished that field now. They averaged high 60s, damn near 70. It was like the best beans that I had, which was almost just made it even worse because this field is going to be put into solar panels. And all of the fields around this field are going to be put into solar panels. And I saw a buddy of ours that farms. I saw him over across the road cutting, so I called him and I said, "That's you?" And he was like, "Yeah, is that you? I see you way over there." We're like probably 2,000 yards apart. Like it's just flat, awesome ground. And he was like, "I wondered if that was you over there." And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Are you losing any ground to solar panels?" And he said, "Yeah, actually, this farm I'm on right here is going to be put into solar panels." He said, "We're losing about 500 acres to solar panels." And I said, "Dude, this is a problem." And so I made a reel about that and how in this one area, there's over 1,000 acres that's going to be put into solar panels. And it's flat, highly productive ground. And I want to make a little note here. I'm not, I am like not anti-progress. As much as I look, if I could just halt any growth of the town, I probably would. Ideally, I would love for Munford to go back about 15 years. But honestly, if a town isn't growing, it's dying. So I mean, I'm not like a hater of progress, and I have
Well,
sold.
I think you'd have progress without necessarily having to have population, you know,
Yeah,
expansion, in terms of, embracing new technologies in terms of harnessing energy and that sort of thing.
yeah,
But doing that at the expense of highly productive farm ground is a whole nother story. Like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like, I mean, what are we really accomplishing here?
yeah,
And I think the one of the biggest issues that I have with all the green energy, whether it's wind turbines or solar panels or whatever else, um, is how much of it is just propped up by subsidies and things like that. Which, of course, you can sit there and say the same thing about some farming practices too. But I mean, if it makes sense, if it's efficient enough to say, yeah, we should be putting in all these solar panels. We get so much energy, it makes sense. Versus how much of it is just completely propped up by government funds,
yeah,
and then that's where I start to have a little bit of an issue with it. I mean, I've got a good buddy who he put solar panels at his house. Now his are just on the roof. Um, I actually have a shop, so it's not even on his house. You can't see them at all.
yeah,
But I think the way they incentivize theirs get a bunch of tax credits and whatnot. But I was talking to him, and he's had them for a couple of years. He's like, he was kind of cussing them. They have not paid off at all. I mean, and he said if he had to do over again, he probably wouldn't do it. Even with the tax credits he got that really incentivized it, made it much much cheaper or kind of offset some of those costs.
yeah,
I'm like, dang, because he was really, you know, I mean, he was a little skeptical of it at first, but thought it was a good idea. But it's just the amount of energy it's actually producing. Like it's not doing near what it was kind of built up to do.
yeah,
And I just worry. I'm like, yeah, is that the way all the rest of this is? And yeah, 30 years from now, we're gonna look back and say, what a colossal failure all that was. We took
well,
all this ground out of production, and then what will it take if all that fails? If 20 years from now we want to put it back into production agriculture, are they going to return it all to its previous state?
yeah. See, that's what I think about like that. And what gets me to is look, I have sold land. Like I'm not like secretive about the fact that I've sold land. Now, the big difference, I told my wife, I said, this place bothers me worse than I lost a lot of sleep over when I sold my farm. Like, and I mean, honestly, I think if it wouldn't have been the middle section of it that I didn't own got bought, if it wouldn't have like completely screwed up the whole farm at that point, I might would have even held out still. But this is why I really don't hate the landowners that sell. Like, because I saw people in the comments on there never failed. There would some they'd be like, "Well, they shouldn't sell," and I told a couple of them, I said, "Well, that's a romantic idea. Like, it really is a like Yellowstone. I love the show Yellowstone. John Dutton, I think he's awesome in Yellowstone, but he's a romantic idea of a guy that will turn down, $500 million or whatever for his ranch, and like we love that thought, but I guarantee you, I would actually say every person that commented on there and said they shouldn't take the money, they shouldn't sell. If they got a guy that came to them and was like, "Hey, we'll give you $5 million for your farm," they would probably sell it for $5 million. They're paying about quadruple what normal people would pay for this land. And but my problem with it is it's highly productive land. Like the farm that I sold that was the worst ground that I had. Like that ground is this I still work it. Like I sold it and now I'm renting it, which is like It's like the best scenario ever. I'm paying less now for the land than I was when I owned it. But the beans up there were the worst beans that I've had. Like that ground is just not very good.
Yeah.
This ground is awesome ground. I mean, it's cutting damn near 70 bushel beans, and they're going to put it in solar panels. That makes me sick.
Right. Oh yeah. And there's all kinds of ways, I feel like, and I'm not an expert on it, but yeah, putting panels on rooftops and places like that. And, um,
That seems to be the general consensus of a lot of the people that have commented have said, why can't they put them on the rooftops of buildings and houses? Why do they
yeah.
got to take the land?
And I know that doesn't, it takes a lot of buildings, even like big buildings to account for, 100 acres, and whatnot. But, um, I don't know. Still, it's like, yeah, I certainly disagree with, taking productive ground that's going to feed us. Because, I mean, obviously we need the energy, we need the electricity, but, we existed for an awfully long time without electricity.
Yeah.
We've never existed without food.
Well, that's one of the best things. I've had several people comment and they say, well, we grow too much corn and soybeans in this country already, so I'd rather see good, clean energy than I would another monocropped field. And somebody else was even like, we have too much corn to the point that we make fuel out of it. We don't need this corn. Like I've seen quite a bit of that. Like the
Yeah.
amount of hatred towards farmers is just it really is pretty mind blowing, honestly.
Well, and then it's kind of ironic, like, so you're admitting that, that made a good point. We're using the corn to make green energy, in the
Yeah,
form of ethanol, like, which, I guess then you got to put the pencil to it. Which one is, what is more efficient, having 100 acres worth of solar panels or 100 acres worth of ground that's going to, yield 200 bushel acre, corn every year, and
yeah.
yeah, I don't know all the math behind which one would pencil out better. Um, and if it pencils out better, I can almost say, okay, I can live with that. But again, is it only penciling out because of all the incentives they place on, give these companies and whatnot to put in, the solar farms? But yeah, that's definitely kind of a hot button subject right now.
Well, I had a guy message me. This I was actually looking up real quick, and he I won't say his name because I don't want to potentially get him in trouble. But here's what he wrote. He said, if people only knew that the solar panel companies are a land grab, all these companies are getting huge tax breaks to buy up land, and then it says taking away farmland. Then, when they all fail, the government or Bill Gates will have it all, like the people that buy the land. I work for TVA and actually have your territory, so he knows the area. And he said, I know exactly where you're talking about. It makes no sense for the amount of electricity produced for the footprint they are on. They produce very little and are so unreliable. He said, it's a problem and I hope it stops. And that's what he's not the first guy that I've heard that has told me that they don't produce very much energy at all, like for the amount of place that they take up. And I talked to a guy today that was telling me even worse is windmills. He said windmills are like the worst. He said solar panels are terrible, but he said windmills suck even worse. He was like, because they're so huge. And he said in his area where he lives, I guess there's a wind farm. I use that word very loosely, like they
Yeah.
call it. But he
Oh,
said it.
you drive out west, you'll see them everywhere.
Oh yeah, he said it looks like a dystopian future. Like he was like, when I look out over one, he was like, it's hideous. He was like, it looks awful. And but so I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of the solar thing. If they could figure out a way to do it without taking up farm ground, like I don't care. I mean, honestly, I'm like, and a bunch of people wrote this. They're like, why can't they build a bunch of them, put in a substation in like Nevada or somewhere in the desert, and like I realize you got to ship the power out, however they do this stuff. But like, dude, they could put like 10,000 acres of solar panels out in like one area in the desert, and like have a
Right.
huge substation.
Oh yeah, and now we got to recognize, well, that's going to have some effect there. There are, you know, native species that's
Lizards.
going to
Yeah.
displace. Whatever. Um, but also, I'd heard somebody say, like, okay, was it 2/3 of the planet is covered in water? It's oceans. Could we not, somehow have floating, just huge blocks of these? Now again, same thing. How do you get that energy? Yeah, to where it is needed. Then, and I don't pretend to know the answers to that, but like, and again, you're going to have some impact out there in the ocean too, and
Yeah.
who knows? Yeah,
I don't know. It's
we
been
don't
an
pretend to have all the answers.
yeah. All right. Well, let's get into some listener questions here real quick. Let me see here. I want to make sure we got several more ratings and reviews, so I got to
That's what I
give a
was going
shout
to
out.
say. Yeah, everybody, remember, go enter the contest. It is still going.
Yep.
We should have just a little less than 2 weeks left in it.
Yeah.
I'm pulling up the website now. I can sit here and tell you. Yes, a little less than 2 weeks to still go in and enter. Yeah, be sitting. Well, I'll be back in studio eventually. You'll be sitting
Yeah.
right there in studio with us. Take you out to dinner. Give you the swag pack. Yeah, talkdirtpodcast.com. Check it out. Leave us a
Yep.
rating review. Enter the contest.
That's right. All right. I want to read a couple of the reviews real quick. Big Jack N writes, "Best agriculture podcast. This is the most relatable agriculture podcast that I have listened to. Great information as well as humor. These guys sound like someone I can have a beer with. I am a truck driver, so it seems these episodes can't be uploaded enough." See, we got a fellow truck driver. I got so much shit from truck drivers over the last couple of weeks. We're not enemies of truck drivers. We got a good guy right here.
Those were Facebook truck drivers. That was
That's
like,
true. They probably, yeah.
yeah.
Not only do you guys cover all of my interests, you guys sound like me and my buddy. I'll give them a shout out. He said on the Hookworks podcast. I've checked that out. Hookworks, one word podcast. Y'all go check them out. Um, I found your podcast from a short clip on Facebook months ago and have been hooked since then. The podcast name is one of the most clever names I have heard. Keep up the great work. I listen on Spotify, but I had to come over to Apple Podcasts just to write this review. That is like that's a good listener right there. He even went and cross reviewed it, man. Like that's pretty darn good.
Good
Are you
deal.
looking up the Hookworks? Did you pull it up?
Yeah, I
What is
did. So it says two best friends, Cade and Curtis, who like to sit down, crack a few cold beers, and just BS for hours on end. Uh,
nice? Well, there you go.
so talk about outdoors projects, business strategies, and really just getting in over their heads.
Well, that sounds like exactly like we do.
Yeah.
Y'all go check out the Hookworks podcast. All right, I'll read one more. All right, here we go. Derek, I'll give Derek a shout out. He wrote a review, and after I harassed him about it finally, he said, "Excellent podcast. They talk real issues and the struggles to start a farm." And then the last one here, M. Hazelrig. "Great show with great hosts and great advice. I thoroughly look forward to Friday morning drives into work and getting to listen to a new episode. As someone who plans to get started the next few years, this podcast has helped give me additional insights into getting started row cropping, especially being from Covington and living only an hour away now in Whiteville. These guys are definitely people I'd have a drink with. Keep up the good work and good material. Would love to hear more episodes of getting into the industry." We can definitely do some more dives into that. And I actually, after I read that review, it's like, we could do some, I think, even on kind of more obscure ways to get into the industry without actually being like a row crop farmer or a cattleman. Like, what are some things that you could do and still work in that field? Because, we had JP on, and he was talking about like in an ideal world he would have been a farmer, but like just things didn't play out right for him on that, so he still works in agriculture. So
Yep.
I think it'd be cool to go even down that. So Michael, Derek, Jack, we all appreciate the reviews. Please submit your reviews. You might get a shout out on the show here. And all right, first question. Again, we're a little, I'm not going to say behind. You know, I mean, I don't feel like we got to answer questions every single week. This is kind of special when we get to do the questions. So Greg writes in, I wonder, should I use their last name or should I give them a hint of anonymity?
Yeah, I would just first names. I think is good because
Yeah,
they'll know who they are.
that's right. All right. Greg writes in, just left you guys a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Want to see you guys get to 2,000 reviews. We do too. That'd be awesome. You guys are the real deal. Just found the podcast a couple months ago. Just about caught up to the current ones. Keep it going in my earbuds when I'm on the tractor or welding. Have a few acres in Center, Arkansas, and we raise a couple pigs a year for our own consumption and doing our first meat chickens and steer this year. Learned so much from your podcast, showed it to my wife, and now she says we need about 10 times the amount of property. That's good to hear. Thanks again, guys, for the awesome listen and you guys being straight up and not sugarcoating shit. All right, no question. He just wrote in just to tell us that. That's awesome. Like, hey, that's great. Like, that's great to hear, man. We love an encouraging email. Like, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and hey, if we're encouraging small outfits to expand and buy more property, I'm happy with that.
I am too. All right, this one's going to be more in your wheelhouse. So Jordan writes in, I recently found your podcast, started listening. My wife and I came to own about 60 acres of the family farm. I would like to start a beef herd, but not sure about how to go about financing the first group of cows and making the first year's payment without the certainty of a calf crop. Thanks for any tips y'all might have. All right, you need to have a deep pockets to start. No, I'm just kidding. That's what, like, I hate when people just make that kind of remark.
So they got 60 acres, and they're just wanting to get into cattle.
Yes.
So the quickest way, and certainly the easiest to like pencil out, would probably be, I mean, if they've got, and it doesn't matter how many acres of grass they got, but figure out, you know, based on how many acres you got, how good a grass it is, that kind of thing, how many you can support, and just buy like some stocker calves the first year. You know, and there's positives and negatives to that, but you can buy, you know, you're going to buy them all, or I mean, you can do it different ways, but well, like my brother, he's selling all his, and I'm going to sell some this weekend with him. He buys a group in the spring, runs them all year till about now, and then sells them all, you know, and so, yeah, hopefully you sell them for a good bit more than you paid for them, enough to cover your expenses that you incur along the way, and you're getting some return, you know, immediately that same year. Because yeah, right now, we'll say even if you bought some bred cows or some bred heifers, so say you bought them today, and they're going to calve next spring. If you're wanting to do that, I might have some for sale. But man, they're, well, I can tell you based on what I'm going to price my heifers at and what they're going to bring, it's going to take you multiple years to get to a break even on them, you know. And so, yeah, you're going to need to be in it for the long haul if you're going to want to go cow calf.
Now you do cow calf as well. Like, how many cow
Yeah,
calf? What's your number? Like, how many do
I
you?
got about 35 mama cows, but
Yeah.
I got there like, I mean, I can almost tell you exactly. Like, I went and bought 5 cows, five bred heifers from a guy.
Yeah.
You know, and then that was like in April that year. And then I found 4 more head, you know, a few months later I went and bought, and I was kind of doing that. And I was buying, you know, just 2 here, 5 there. And, you know, looking for deals and just, you know, kind of playing, but it's harder because it, I won't say it's harder to make money in the cow calf because once you're set up and you've got that cow and she's you know well, like me, I'm about to wean calves off my cow herd right now, and I won't sell them immediately. I could um, just to get some cash flow back, and they're bred already back for next year, and you kind of get rolling. But immediately starting out, it's a whole lot easier to pencil out and put it to paper with. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna buy 30 steer calves next spring. You know, I'm gonna sell them all next fall, and they're gonna be two, maybe 300 pounds, maybe more heavier when I sell them in the fall. And so I'm going to make money based on that weight that I'm going to put on them. You know, I'm selling my grass, but I'm selling it by feeding it to those steers. But yeah, and you can do other things. A lot of people say, well, you can even, go direct to consumer and do that sort of thing. Well, yeah, buy those 30 steers, keep 5 of them to feed out, you know, you know, and that's essentially what I do too with mine. I'll keep back a few, and when I sell it, well, like I say, we're selling some this weekend, or it'll be early next week. Next sell, we'll keep back. I think I'm going to feed out 9 this year. I'll keep back that many, and they'll get sold for freezer beef next spring. But yeah, there's other ways to do it. Cow calf, one of the biggest expenses too is if you're keeping them year round to do that with cow calf. Wintertime, it's awfully expensive to have them. You're either going to have your own ability to put up hay, or you're going to spend a lot of money buying hay.
Yeah,
everything's so high right now; it's tough. But
it is, man. I gotta get some wheat straw bales just for the yard. I mean, I realize I'm like a week away from Halloween, but wheat straw bales used to be $4 a bale, and now they're $8 a bale. I talked to a guy today, and he wants $8 for a bale of wheat straw, and I mean that just seems so high to me. Like I'm
I'm
still,
go ahead.
well, I'm just saying, like I still think back. I mean, we used to sell it for like $4 a bale.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just a byproduct. I mean, it's.
Yeah,
I mean, which I know years where I guess wheat was so terrible. I remember like your dad, talking before they grew any wheat, and I guess they're not currently growing any wheat, but back before they did any row crop, we would bale wheat straw, off of some guys, and like we would do the math, how many bales per acre we were getting. The straw was worth more than the grain, some
yeah,
years.
yeah.
But now on the Halloween decorations, since you're the pumpkin guy, I carved 2 pumpkins. Me and my kids did,
Yeah.
and we did that a week ago, and within about 3 or 4 days, the pumpkins are just like squatting and like just
Really?
rot.
Already?
Is it because I didn't carve them out good enough? Like, why is that? Because I mean, I'm not a pumpkin carving, just expert or super experienced there.
Did you? I mean, I'm sure you cleaned the guts out really well.
Well, I don't know that I would say really well. Like we worked on them and worked on them. I didn't know if that made a huge difference in how fast they
I mean,
deteriorate.
it shouldn't, because I mean, we usually will clean them out. We clean them out moderately well, but man, our jack o' lanterns will usually last a good week or longer.
Yeah, yeah. I guess they're technically jack o' lanterns now. They're not just pumpkins.
Yeah,
But yeah,
they'll last a lot longer than that.
well, think about it. We had done them like out on our back patio. And we're like, well, we need to set them on our front porch. Well, we left them on the back porch for a few days. And the kids were like carrying them through the house. And I was like, oh, God, get those things out of the house. Like, and now they're sitting out on our front porch steps. And like, here in just a few more days, there's going to be like piles like goo. I'm like, good grief. But that's, and it was my mom. She's like, I'm going to take them to a pumpkin patch. I'm like, whoa, before you do that, I was like, call Logan.
Yeah,
Like, I'm sure he's got some that he hadn't even picked. Like, it's a literal pumpkin patch. Like, you can almost hit a golf ball to it from your house.
yeah.
Like,
There,
like you can. We're like, well, they wanted to go to this place. They had, I was like, whatever. Grandma was taking all the grandkids,
we had
and
some.
so now I'm going to give her hell. I'm like, y'all wouldn't go where I told you to, and we got inferior pumpkins.
Well, I was just sitting here wondering. I was like, did y'all get them for me? Because then I was feeling bad.
No, no, no. This is shout out to LH Farms. We did not like this was. And I don't know where it was they went and bought them. I'm sure they're good folks, but yeah, the pumpkins are crap.
Well, a lot of the guys at those farms you go to, not all of them, but some of the ones around here that are like the agritourism thing, like kind of what we're wanting to do, they buy them and bring them in. So it's no telling how long they've been cut either. Like
Yeah,
they.
I'll have to ask them if it looked like that they were picked there on site, or if it was just
Do
a
you remember the
place.
name? Don't say it on air. Do you remember the name of where they?
No, I know
Okay.
the general area where it was, and yeah, I'll
All
tell
right.
you.
Tell me off there. I'm gonna make
Yeah,
a because if it is, because I know of one that I don't think they grow a single pumpkin.
and
Um,
these look good. Like when we carved them, they looked good. I mean, and heck, I thought I
dude,
did a good job carving
I
them.
used to bleach bath all of mine. Dad and I used to we would pick them and we had those big mineral tubs left
Yeah.
over and we had water in one and then a water and bleach mixture and we would bleach dunk them and then rinse them off and it was supposed to make them last a lot longer. Man, we would really go all out on them.
Wow,
So I
that
did
doesn't
not.
sound very organic.
No, it's not very green. We are using bleach. So
Yeah,
people
I
say,
don't know if that's a direct, out of compliance with organic growing standards or anything, but
well, I may have used certain chemicals in the process of growing them too that
yeah,
people.
they weren't organic to begin with. Yeah. So,
No. All right, Jordan, we appreciate your question. Hopefully that helped you out. If you got any more questions, feel free to reach out and we'll do our best to answer them. All right. Here you go. Okay. This is from Dwight. It says, hate to leave you guys guessing. I left the review as OK Fences OK Neighbor last week simply because Mediocre Fences Mediocre Neighbor was too long of a name. And he said, I'm actually out in Nebraska. One thing I was wondering is how you were going to keep weeds out of your 60-inch row next year. All right, when I try my 30-60 plan on the corn. I know when I try to do the old one more round before I refill with seed and run out halfway back, that row has hell with weeds without the canopy of corn, even in our cleanest fields. I guess maybe one man's clean field is another man's weed bed. Thanks. So, to be honest with you, I don't know yet because I haven't dove into it as much yet now. But in the spring, I mean, honestly, it'd probably be one of those scenarios where I'll just have a very stout herbicide program, which corn, I usually can get that pretty good. Corn usually, well, it can maintain pretty well, but I'm just going to be pretty well dependent on my herbicides doing what I need them to do. Um, but
are, are you are you are you going to be planting that following a cover crop?
uh, I don't know if I do, I'll burn it down. I don't plant my corn green.
It'd be neat if you could somehow have some type of a cover crop growing in those spaces. I mean, I don't know the
Yeah,
feasibility.
there are guys that
Like
experiment
something
with
like
that.
a clover, which I know clover's a cool season, um, but something that could canopy over. Wouldn't get because the advantage of the wider rows is more sunlight,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, more water, everything. But like if you had a low growing, cover crop that wouldn't interfere with any of that, it's
Well,
potentially something like a legume that could, even add some nitrogen to the soil at the same time.
well, I did. I did just cut some beans. Well, just in the last few days, where I planted green. All my beans this year I planted green pretty much. I guess actually all my beans I planted green except for one field. Um, and I just planted one, and the stuff was like 4 foot tall when I planted into it. Like I was actually nervous on this one farm when I was planting into it because I even got off and was checking, and there would be some beans on top of the ground, some beans in the ground, and the stuff was like it was like a blanket of stuff whenever I was going. Now I don't have a roller crimper. I'm actually going to put one. I'm thinking of mounting these Yetter crop devastators on my planter, and it's a roller crimper that runs right in front of your unit, so it's always going in the right direction. And I'm gonna try that because where the blanket was, man, I had a great stand of beans, and it was not a single ounce of vegetation. Like it was so freaking clean because it was just a mat covering the ground. So I may, and I'm going to experiment this coming year with planting some corn green. I am going to try that. I did not do that last year. I burned down all before corn, but I might experiment with planting it into some very tall cover crop and roller crimping it down and just having that basically that blanket to cover it. Because I mean, I've almost moved to all 5 species blends now, so I've got a pretty thick cover that's going to be down this year. So, but that's kind of my plan, and I'm gonna keep looking. Like I'm not doing all my corn in that way. It's going to be kind of. I'll probably try it in like one field just to see how it does. But I don't know. I'm still, honestly, I'm still just digging in right now, just figuring out. But yeah, so man, appreciate the question. I like the name. Mediocre Fences, Mediocre Neighbor is a pretty long name,
Yeah.
but hey, man, we won't give you crap either way. So thanks for the question. All right, next one. Here we go. All right, looks like more on the cattle thing. Daniel writes in, "Hey, Logan and Bobby, I've been a long time listener of the podcast and also viewer of you guys' YouTube channels. I'm located in Northwest Alabama. I'm a 24-year-old first generation cattleman. Me and my wife run a few head of stocker calves and do some cow calf also. We are a smaller operation that has room for expansion, but not sure the best way to approach expanding our stocker operation financially. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Thanks." Um,
Uh,
you go ahead.
just want to run more head. I don't know all the details what he means by that. Like they've got said they got the resources to expand, so I assume he means that they've got more pasture ground than what they're
That's what
currently.
I'm assuming because he says more room for they have more room for expansion.
Okay, so if he's meaning, they got to invest maybe in fences and whatnot. I mean, yeah, you I mean, I think you get a pretty quick return. Say if you got another, I don't know, this chunk of land that you can get fenced in, you got to kind of bite the bullet and go for it and get the return. Over the next couple of years. Um, if it's no, you've got the land, it's already fenced, pastured. I mean, I don't make no secrets about it. I mean, I buy my calves with borrowed money every year. Uh,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
I was just sitting here thinking. Now, obviously, I'm on the different side of the coin in the row crop, but I operate out of a line of credit. I operate out of
yeah,
a revolving line of credit, which is what I'm sitting here. For me, reading this, I would think you need a revolving line of credit.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I mean, assuming that they can get you know financed and whatnot. Yeah, call a lender and because I mean, yeah, I'd love to be stout enough to do it, without borrowing a dime but
yeah, because you are going to
and I
pay interest.
and I think I mean I think it's reasonable I could get there, maybe sooner rather than later, but right now I'm not there. 'Cause yeah, right, and interest rates are stupid right now. But I mean, we borrow money to buy our big group of calves um, every year, and then the first thing I have to do when I sell it is I pay the line of credit back.
Well, you
And
know what they say about rich people?
well, I think they say a lot of stuff about them.
Well, one of the things is they never spend their own money. A
Yeah,
rich man never spends his own money. So, they use it. Now, obviously, the interest is hell. I'd say right now your interest rate is going to be about 8%
yeah.
on a line of credit, which is pretty stout. But
Oh yeah,
that's I don't know honestly any other way um, to do it. I mean, like for me, yeah, I feel like I get further and further away from being able to operate without a line of credit. Like it just
well, I
gets
mean, it's like if you all still have room for expansion, say another 500 acres came available for you to rent next year. I mean, which your lender, is going to, know that, well, hey, he can put the pencil to it. He can get the return on that. Yeah, we're gonna,
Increase.
yeah, we'll, give him, his line of credit. We'll increase it to where he can, afford to put in a crop on that ground. You know, in that part of the country, I mean, most lenders, especially ag lenders, are going to be well aware of what kind of return you can get on cattle.
Yeah.
That's pretty well cattle country. Not too far from us either. If they're in Northwest Alabama, um,
Yeah.
yeah, Northwest is like, yeah, that's the part of Alabama closest to us. I had to think about my geography for a minute. We sell calves, and the ones we're selling next week are going to Dixon, but we go to Savannah, Tennessee, is the next closest market of any real size, and that that's right there on Tennessee River. I mean, yeah, I think you can throw a rock from there to Alabama. So
Yeah.
he and I might sell some calves at the same market sometime. But yeah, that's what I would look into if they're right now they're small enough and they got them where they're buying them out of pocket. Yeah, it's a little bit nerve wracking to stick your neck out there and no, I mean they could all fall over dead and then yeah you, you owe somebody else some money at that point.
But
And
look, man, money is just money. Like this sounds weird, but like, which in my little quote, I've said it on here before, man. You got to risk it for the biscuit, and like I believe in that thoroughly. Like I tell Marcy, I tell her every year we could go bankrupt this year. Like, like tell her I'm like,
oh, that's the thing, and it doesn't take like crazy, not just like ridiculously crazy things happening. I mean,
oh
like,
yeah, no, no. I
and I
mean,
mean, I guess you've got insurance to help, mitigates a lot of the risk, but even like with cattle, I mean, you need the herd animals. They all get under one tree. It's get struck by lightning, and half of them die. Yeah, I mean, you know, uh, with crops, and again, I guess with insurance nowadays, it makes it harder to just totally have a crop failure and lose your butt. But
not in well, I in some cases, but like last year, we had the drought, devastating corn. Like my corn yield across the board was 83 bushels to the acre.
yeah,
And some of those same fields, the last time I had corn on them, averaged about 200 bushels. So they were about 120 bushels higher than what they did cut. And insurance, I got a very very small check because see the hard part, and I don't know cattle may be this way. I don't know how cattle insurance works. You can tell me, but like so on grain, you got to have like a 4 year history of that crop on the land. So corn, I every year I tell them my yield, what my corn yielded on this farm or what my beans yielded on this farm. Like I have to tell them per field what it yielded and give them that information every year. Well, on all these farms, I think I had 3 years of corn data on there. So I did not have the fourth year. So they used the county average. Well, I'm pretty sure the county average was figured up in like 1978 because it's like 100 bushels to the acre. Like it is terrible. Like that's basically a loss of a crop. And so I got paid for like 17 bushels per acre. Like it was barely any money coming in to offset the corn. And
yeah.
so that's where I don't know is cattle insurance. It can't be that way. Like how is it?
Well, and so there's different ways to insure them. I don't typically, and not unlike my stockers, like we're not insured against like death. Now we buy some risk protection on, to hedge as far as the market goes. Um, but yeah, if they just, all get out and get in the middle of the highway and get hit by cars, I mean, which I mean, something like that, it's not going to happen to all of them, but
Well, like that green snap that I had, I did not have green snap insurance. There's a form of green snap insurance, and like hardly nobody has it. This year, I had some corn where I lost about 60 bushel to acre on
I
the
saw
average.
you. Yeah, I saw you did. hit on that on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, like that field was decimated. Probably averaged about 110, 120 bushels an acre. Should have cut about 170. And so that field, but it is not. I'm getting nothing on insurance for that. Like I talked to my
Yeah.
agent, it's just not going to pay. So, and contrary to the belief of a lot of the people on Instagram, there is no government subsidy that's going to come out and save me. Like, everybody has this weird idea. I think they think that we're still in like the 90s and cotton. Like, when the cotton guys were getting like $250,000 every year, stuff like we're not in those days anymore. Like, and honestly, beans and corn have never been in like those kind of heyday.
Yeah.
So, but I think both of us probably say this guy should go look at a revolving line of credit. And man, just start with what you can. Like, I mean, if they're only like, well, we can only give you $20,000. I mean, start there and just work your way up and show them that you can pay it back, and then you just keep adding to it.
Yeah.
So I think we still got quite a bit of questions, but we're at an hour, so we'll
Yeah.
probably save them for the next time. I
Yeah.
see you're wearing a Chad shirt there.
Yeah. Yeah. I finally got my made
Nice.
in the USA Chad shirt. Of course, I think that was like buy one get one 50% off. So of course I had to get two.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, made in USA product. We highlighted that what
A
maybe a month
few
or
weeks
two
ago.
ago. Haven't been that long,
Yeah. Do you
but
got the company?
I
I don't even know.
have one. I can hit on one.
Okay.
Let me start off with two words: made in America.
Nice.
Oh, Commander in Chief. Yeah. So a product. If anybody has watched my YouTube channel, something you've seen me use. Now I wanted to actually put it to the test, and I feel like I've done that.
Glad you finally
What's
got it.
that?
Astroglad, you used it.
I mean, you got to lubricate equipment, right?
Very good, man, for high temperatures.
um, no. Have you ever used a helicoil thread repairs?
No, but I've heard of them. Did you actually use one?
Yes. So I finally, I broke off some bolts in my disc mower in a pretty bad place. We're supposed to have four bolts holding a major part of the frame on. I was down to one before I realized I had a problem. Could not get the broken ones out. Drilled them out, tapped them, put new bolts in. For pretty much my whole second cutting, it wasn't worth a crap.
Yeah.
They were all stripping back out, which thankfully at that point they stripped out. It was easy to get them out, but I was back in the same kind of situation. And so I'd heard somebody had talked about the helicoils. They were made in the USA. And it's a little bit of a process, and I kind of took my time. Thankfully, I was between my second and my third cutting, so I wasn't having to like make repairs like at lightning speed or anything. Because I'm not. That's where I struggle the most. But went through my whole entire third cutting with them in there, and I actually had some people that at least sounded like they had more experience than me. Or comment, and they're like, "Oh yeah," they're like, "You won't have a problem." Like they're like, "I swear that it's stronger with those repairs with the helicoils in there than it is the original threads." Like that sounds almost unbelievable, but I found, of course, you got to order very specific. You got to obviously order the correct size,
Yeah.
also thread type. Yeah, once you get them in there, and of course, I was a little nervous, as I'm cranking down on them. Like, all right, I don't want to strip these things out again, but I put them in there, put a little Loctite. I'm not sure if Loctite's made in the USA or not, but I try to do everything I can to make sure them suckers ain't coming out there for any reason.
Did you
Uh,
tighten them down really hard?
well, like I say, I was like, oh, look, it's kind of was holding my breath, as I was tightening them down. I'm not one of those dudes that's notorious for like twisting bolts off or anything or stripping them
Yeah.
out. Um, you know,
Man, that's a struggle. I'm bad about twisting them off.
oh, I've screwed up now in this exact application. Unless they were just totally crap, I wasn't going to be able to do that. But yeah. Um, Putting the
Yeah.
drain plugs in whenever I'm done changing the oil or putting the filter on too tight. every time when I'm changing the oil next time, I'm like, damn it, why do I do this every time? Like,
Yeah. I am always, that is something I'm always kind of nervous about, the drain plug. Because I'm like, man, I'd hate to strip out a drain plug sometime.
oh gosh, yeah.
That would be pretty tough. Well, then he looked it. Actually, I think Brock had told me about those. I've never used.
He is actually, because whenever I was having all the trouble to begin with, I think Dad was over there talking to him. He's like, needs to put helicoils in there. And I was like, all right. And but nobody had, like, because you have to have, because when I was first repairing it, like I was like in the middle of cutting hay, and that wasn't a good situation to be in because I know I wasn't going to get it fixed quite right, and I sure absolutely didn't. But yeah, that, you had to have the correct length because they come in different lengths. Of course, the correct diameter just for the bolt size,
Yeah.
coarse or fine thread. So, I mean, there probably are some, really, you know, good hardware stores somewhere that carry just a wide range of them, but it's a very, like, whenever I went to order them, I was like, oh my God, like the different SKUs and different numbers. Like I like triple checked that I was ordering the right ones.
What you
Uh,
got? Diameter of the hole or something?
yeah, diameter of the hole. Of course, the kit comes with the tap, um, the tool that you actually insert the helicoil with, and all that. All that comes with it, or it can. I mean, now that I've got the setup for that particular size, I can just order more of the actual coils.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're actually made, I guess, by Stanley Engineered Fastening. But
Okay.
yeah, made in the USA. I don't know. So far, I feel like I put them enough to the test where I'll put my stamp of approval on it. And I mean, yeah, why wouldn't I? They're made in the USA. I should have known they were going to be great.
That's true. That is very true. All right.
But
Well, there you go. He look cool. Check them out. Use
yeah,
them. Got a
yeah,
bolt stripped out.
yeah. Check out Helicoil. Check out Agzaga. Don't
Use the
forget about
code Talk Dirt, all caps, one word.
yeah.
8%.
Unfortunately, and I checked, they did not have helicoils. Like it's a very specific product, but
It is.
in a way, I was kind of surprised they didn't because they have an awful lot of hardware and tools. A lot of folks may be doing some repairs, some upgrades to equipment, during downtime this winter. Um, yeah, check out Agzaga, when you do, um, and then get that 10% off using that discount code Talk Dirt, all caps, all one word. But
Yep.
yeah,
Well, that's about all I got. Um, Guys, if you're watching this, hit that like button, hit subscribe, leave us a comment, and share this. Share it with your friends. Again, we appreciate all the reviews. We appreciate all the questions. We've got a lot to go, but we'll get to you. Just keep
yeah,
emailing your questions in, and we will get to you guys.
yeah. And when you go to the website to email the question, enter the contest.
Yeah.
Chance to come join us, hang out, get some cool gear. But yeah, guess we'll talk to everybody again next week.
We're going to give you a locket of Bobby Lee's skullet.
Yeah, man, it's I kind of targeted. I'm like by Christmas, like it's gotta be long enough in the back to like I don't know how long it has to be back there, like to officially qualify. It's like mullet. Because
Yeah.
I guess just a mullet is you just got to be longer in the back and shorter on the sides.
Yeah.
And so, like technically, I mean, I could probably get it just kind of shaved here on the sides, and
Well,
we're
see,
there.
that's what I've had people say because mine is long.
Oh yeah, yours is definitely long enough. You could go ahead and go with the mullet.
Well, see, that's what I've had some people say. You got the mullet, but I'm like, no, I don't have the mullet because mine is straight up.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's all that long. Like I can actually just about disappear my entire face
Yeah.
with my beard if I close my lips. I'm almost.
Yeah. Yeah. There's very little skin showing.
Like, I'm so it's.
So are you going to cut yours down to a mullet?
No, I'm not going to a mullet. I'm just going a full ponytail, man. I'm going
Okay.
all a ponytail.
Well, and probably a lot of our listeners, viewers, know your mom is a beautician, hairdresser. I don't know.
Yeah.
When I had hair at one time, she cut my hair for me.
Yeah.
But now that I'm back in the hair game, I need to ask your mom if she's ever done a skullet for
I don't
anyone.
know that she has ever done a skullet.
But
She
but
has
as embarrassed as I would be to walk into a place of business where I didn't know someone personally, couldn't explain. Like I may have to see if I could talk her into.
Oh, she would do it. Yeah, she would do it for
I mean,
sure.
I could always. I've got clippers. Like I guess I could just shave the sides. Be like, all right, there's a skullet, but it needs to be professional enough looking that I can actually wear it. Because
Yeah.
we never said that. Like, how long do I have to keep it? Can I? I can't do just like the dude that shaves his beard down to a mustache, for like an hour and then shaves the mustache
I
off.
feel like it's got to stay for like a month. I feel like we
Oh,
got
a
to go.
month? I was gonna say like a week, but
I mean, I feel like we got to go a month. Look, I'm
I mean,
telling you.
I may fall in love with it. It may become my. I mean,
Well,
I may be like the next Hulk Hogan. Like he is not Hulk Hogan without the skullet.
he's not. Well, man, I told Marcy tonight. I got out of the shower there and I was getting ready and I have to brush mine back. My hats don't. The only problem I have is my hats don't fit very good anymore.
Yeah,
Because my hair's done got so long. But I told her, I said, and I think paired with because I've also let my beard just grow back out. So I'm like my beard it's gotten pretty long again, and I'm just gonna keep growing it out too. So like I'm just embracing like all of it. But I told her I was like, I'm kind of digging the long hair, and she just didn't say anything. And so then I said, so that's like, what does the country song say? You said it all when you said nothing at all, or what does he say? Is that right?
no, you say it best when you say nothing at all.
There you go. So I was like, oh, okay. So what are you trying to say?
But I think, I mean, he was saying that in a positive manner.
Well,
Like,
it was a negative manner the way
yeah,
that I was receiving it. Like
yeah.
she didn't say anything. So, but I'm going strong. My daughter has even like practiced putting ponytails in my hair already. So I'm just letting it keep going, man. I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep, and I feel like by the time it gets to where if I actually make it to a full blown, all of it's in a ponytail, it's already probably as long as I've ever had it right now. But if I get to a full blown ponytail, man, I don't know how long I'll keep it because at that point I have committed quite a bit of time to not getting a haircut. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like when I grow my beard out really long, I'll get tired of it, but I feel I'm like I have invested so much time into getting this to this length. I feel bad cutting it off.
Well, you can put it like in a man bun,
Oh, I
and
can't do that. I can't do the bun. I'm gonna have to just go. I'm either rocking just a ponytail or it's just gonna be maybe just
yeah,
wild.
you put it in your man bun and put on your flannel shirt, and you can go like sit at the coffee shop.
I'll have the
And,
beard already. Yeah, I'll be like a hipster,
yeah,
true hipster. There is some farm.
drink you some craft beers.
Yep, craft beers. Go to some Starbucks. Drink their little lattes or whatever they are. What's a large, a venti?
Yeah, I think venti just means large, doesn't it?
I don't. I don't know. I don't think that their stuff is right. If I
See, I
remember.
was having this conversation the other day, and with some people, I was like, which I avoid Starbucks like the plague, and like I was like, now I was like, I'm gonna walk. Like there was a Starbucks nearby, and I was like, no, I was like, there's another coffee shop that I'll walk to it,
Yeah,
and they probably don't have good politics either, but at least they're not, you know, shoving them down my throat.
yeah.
But I was like, those places are always amazed. Like when I walk in and they're like, what do you want? I'm like, black coffee. And they're like, what? What? Like, like, yeah, just coffee.
Yeah, just want a regular black coffee.
Yeah.
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 Hey,
Now,
well,
I had an order. I had an order because I was buying for several people, and I was like, I don't know how to pronounce this.
yeah. Well, before we get off of here, speaking of that, do you follow 4EJ Smith on Instagram?
Yes. Yeah. Lloyd from
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. Yeah.
Dude, he is like becoming more and more my favorite person. Like that dude has started. It's almost as if somebody just taught him how to start using Instagram or something because now he's making videos pretty regular.
Well, see, I follow him, but I guess I haven't. The algorithm doesn't put his stuff in front of
Oh
me.
man, he made one about 2 weeks ago or something. Maybe not quite that long ago. He made one about Budweiser and how
Yeah, I
he.
saw that one. You may have even sent it to me, but yeah.
I think I did. Yeah, like he won't drink Budweiser, And then he did another
Well,
one.
and he was doing like a fan event where he was like signing autographs, but it was at a Budweiser tent, and he was like, "No,
Yeah,
that's what it was." He's like, "I'll just sign out here. Like, I ain't going over there."
yeah.
And people like were applauding him for it too. And I was like,
Oh
"Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty awesome."
Well, he made another one, and he like doubled down. Like at first when I saw it, I was like, "Oh man, here he goes."
Here
Like he
comes the
got,
apology.
yep, he got some pushback, and now he's caving.
Nah, from what
No,
I've seen of him, I don't think. Again, we get disappointed by celebrities all the time, but nah,
he seems pretty stout because his next video was him saying he was like, "I don't care what you do," but he said, "I do get tired of the LGBT cramming their stuff down my throat." Like, and he said that, and I'm like, man, this dude is in Hollywood. Like, I mean, and he's a legit, like he's a cowboy, and
oh yeah,
so I'm like, he's holding strong. And it is funny. The comments are always like overwhelmingly supportive, like
yeah.
for him. So, but all right, guys, that's it. Next week, let's see,
Next week will be the Halloween episode. It'll have to be.
Skinwalker Ranch, man. We got to be diving in.
There we go.
All right, guys, we'll catch you next week. Take care.